How you doing, Bruin fans? Todd Reeves here with your UCLA Daily, part of the Fan Arch Network. Today is Monday, July 27th, 2026. Glad you've joined me for today's show. We got a bunch of football to talk about today because guess what? Football is right around the corner, as you'll be hearing on this show. But we got first media days. ACC, I believe, has already done theirs. Big 12. SEC have already done their media days, and now it's the Big Ten's turn in Chicago. It'll be kicking off on Tuesday. It'll last 3 straight days in Chicago. There'll be press conferences with coaches and players and some others, and it'll be televised on Big Ten Network. So if you have a DVR and you're not home, you're at work, then you can set your DVR to Big Ten Network. Every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's going to be the press conference televised between 8:30 a.m. Pacific time until 11 a.m. Pacific time. And then after that, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., there's going to be Big Ten Network shows where they're going to bring coaches and players onto the desk. There might be reporters, roaming around talking to players in like little scrum sessions. So I don't know. There's no really set times for, when like players are going to talk. But there are semi-set times when the coaches will hold their press conferences. And then in the afternoon when they go to the desk, I think is just whenever they have time. So we don't know exactly when Coach Chesney will be, talking with the reporters on the desk of Big Ten Network. But we kind of do know when he'll be speaking. If you don't know, the 3 days with 18 teams, they split it 6 teams on each day. UCLA will be going the second day. First day, uh, they're going to have press conferences to start. The Big Ten commissioner, Tony Petitti, will start things off with the opening press conference, give the, the State of the Union address for the Big Ten conference and football. And then after that, coaches will start coming up to the podium to do their own little spiels. The first coach, I believe, talking is Brett Bielema from Illinois. If you are interested in the Trojan spew coming from Lincoln Riley and have him talk about his championship window that is now opened, he talks on day one. I believe he is, I have it written down here, the fifth coach. He's the fifth coach on day one. So he'll be talking later on, kind of closer to that 2 o'clock time. Coach Chesney, if you're wondering, like I said, UCLA will go day two. Chesney is scheduled to go last on day two, so he'll be at the very end. He'll be the last coach speaking on day two, and then day three there'll be 6 other teams. But we'll be talking more about that. But tomorrow things start ramping up, so let's get ready for some football, shall we? And then next, I was thinking about it, like, when's the last time as a Bruin fan you were this excited for an upcoming season of UCLA football? And I'm trying to think about it. Now, it wasn't too long ago. I would say this is definitely comparable to Chip Kelly. Now, it didn't turn out to be that good, obviously. But at the time, I mean, Chip Kelly, I believe it was between UCLA and Florida. Both teams were going hard after him. He was like the number one guy that, was out there as far as, free agent coaches, and UCLA got him. And I think there was a ton of people excited, like, oh, he's going to turn UCLA into Oregon. There was a lot of excitement. Now, you may or may not remember that. Maybe you'll say, oh, I knew Chip Kelly sucked or whatever. Fine. But the thing is, like, there was a lot of excitement when the Bruins hired him. Like, oh, finally UCLA stepping up, with money and hiring a big time coach, not some, old alum that, is basically just, farting around somewhere, wide receivers coach for the Broncos. If you know, you know. That was Carl Durrell. And anyways, uh, I mean, when's the last time you've been this excited for an upcoming season? I mean, first of all, UCLA has not hired a sitting head coach to be their head coach in 54 years. The last time UCLA hired a head coach from another school was 1971. Uh, happens to be a special year for me. But anyways, yeah, Pepper Rogers, who they hired from Kansas in 1971. That's the last time the Bruins have hired a coach who was a head coach at another school. So usually it's just assistants or, like I said, alums that that were, interested in coaching and, maybe had a little bit of a pedigree. So, I mean, it's been a while. And then you think before that, and by the way, Chip Kelly was 2018, so it wasn't too long ago, but 8 years. Then before that, I was thinking maybe like Rick Neuheisel, the year that, I think we were coming off a win against USC in the Rose Bowl, that 13-9 game, and everyone loved Dwayne Walker and his defense against the Trojans that day. So I think there was a lot of excitement because the next year you had Neuheisel as the head coach, Dwayne Walker stayed on as defensive coordinator, and Norm Chow was the offensive coordinator. That was an exciting year going into it. And if you remember, too, the first game of the year was Tennessee at the Rose Bowl, and the Bruins won that game. And that was pretty exciting. But it quickly fizzled out, kind of like the Chip Kelly era. Hopefully, this one doesn't fizzle out. But don't forget, too, Chip Kelly, his first year went 3-9. So, and the expectations kind of went a little bit down, but there was still some, excitement as far as, oh yeah, it's going to take time for him to build that. What do you think about now? If Chesney goes 3-9 in his first year, what are you going to be feeling? Is it going to be, like Chip Kelly? Well, oh, it's going to take time, or is it severely disappointing? I'm kind of leaning towards the latter. So, but anyways, right now, hey, it's July. We're excited. We're ready to go. So let's get things going. Let's try to win some games. Let's get the Chesney era rolling, shall we? And speaking of the Chesney era, we have opening day rapidly approaching. With that, there's some big time media people jumping on the UCLA bandwagon. And I say this because on Sunday, I believe, an article came out with Bill Plaschke, who did an interview with Coach Chesney. Plaschke, if you don't know, is a columnist with the LA Times. Now, I don't have a subscription to the LA Times. I'm going to put that out front. So I didn't read the article, but I read the headline, and it said something to the fact is, I believe, with an exclamation point. So, Plaschke's a believer. He's believing in Chesney. He thinks he can turn it around, obviously. You don't need to read the article when you see a headline like that. It says, I believe, or I'm a believer. So Plaschke's on board. Now, as I found out on the message boards, there's a lot of Bruin fans that aren't fans of Bill Plaschke, and they could care less whether he's on the bandwagon, but still. And then the other one was Bill Simmons. If you don't know who Bill Simmons is, you can Google him. He runs pretty much his own media company. Uh, he's a big time Chesney fan, and the main reason why is because uh, Bill Simmons is an alum of Holy Cross, and Bob Chesney coached at Holy Cross before James Madison. So Simmons knew about Chesney years ago and knows what he can bring to the table. And I think he mentioned on his podcast, like, hey, the bandwagon's filling up. We have a little bit of room, but not too much more because, Simmons is a believer. He says this is going to get going, and you got to get on the bandwagon now. And obviously, Plaschke did. But, Simmons supposedly is friends with Casey Wasserman, big time donor to UCLA, and got in his ear and told him that, Chesney is the guy. He's your guy. You go get him. And supposedly, I don't know if it had any influence or not. I've also, if you read online, I don't know if this is true, that Simmons is having dinners with Chesney and some of the staff. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. But obviously, Bill Simmons is a national, media member, very well known, was on ESPN for years. Like I said, has his own media company now. And he's bought in. He's all in. His chips are in for Bob Chesney. So, hey, again, part of the excitement. Things are looking good. So let's keep it rolling. Don't forget the Cal game, 6 weeks away from this past weekend. 6 weeks, that's it. And when fall camp is, I don't know. I've heard some rumors out there, but I'm still thinking sometime first week in August, second week of August by the absolute latest. Again, we're 6 weeks out. September 5th is the opener in Berkeley. So Fall camp needs to get going here. And well, as soon as I find out and get confirmation, I'll of course let you know. So we're gonna close things out with talking about travel. It's kind of been a big deal when you're talking about UCLA and the Big Ten Conference, and that was part of the deal when they moved to the Big Ten. How much travel they have to do. Obviously, for football, it's a little less grinding as far as travel goes because you don't play as many games as some of the other sports. But again, you pound on someone for 3 hours on a Saturday and then have to get on a plane later on that week. It's not fun to go pound on somebody else. So it's not ideal, but hey, that's part of the payoff, I guess, for getting all this money from the Big Ten and joining a super conference is you're going to have to travel a little bit when you're on the West Coast. And Mike Regalado, I appreciate him. He works for the Bruin 247 website. He calculated all the travel miles for all the football teams. Now, this is just for conference play, and I thought it was pretty interesting. You say, again, not traveling the most out of any conference team. Now, part of the reason is they play 4 road games in conference. Most schools do only play 4 road games, but there's a few that play 5, including the USC Trojans, who play 5 road games in conference this year and will travel 16,289 miles. That's the most miles of any team in the conference. Obviously, the first top four are all the West Coast, X-Pac 12 teams. They're going to travel the most. Second is Oregon. They have 4 road games, and they'll travel just a shade over 13,000 miles. And then UCLA is third as far as the amount of miles they'll be traveling this year. Again, 4 road games for the Bruins, and they'll travel 12,950 miles this season in conference travel. So there you go. Washington was fourth at 12,000, but just under 12,500 miles. And then to show you the gap between the West Coast teams and next, so Washington was fourth, a little over 12,000. Fifth was Maryland, who's around 8,500. So it was about a 4,000 mile difference between fourth and fifth place as far as most miles traveled. So there's a big difference there. And then one other thing, if you're wondering who travels the least amount of miles in the conference for this upcoming football season, or who will travel the least, it's Rutgers, surprisingly. Rutgers will only travel 3,662 miles this year for the Scarlet Knights. So, will that translate into wins? Probably not for Rutgers. The expectations aren't high for them this season. But anyway, just thought I would throw that out there, just let you know, hey, this is how many miles the Bruins will be traveling. Um, Again, I don't believe in excuses, and I'm not using this as an excuse. If the Bruins struggle a little bit in conference, hey, you got to win the games no matter, how far you have to travel, or, how, whatever, if you travel just down the street, or if you're traveling to the Coliseum. So, uh, no excuses. A lot of people don't mind traveling to Hawaii, and that's an awful long distance. But when you're playing Hawaii, you're probably going to get a win, more than likely, if you're a big time team. So travel shouldn't affect you too much. But I just thought it was interesting that the Bruins are third this year. They'll be traveling the third most. So, anyways, that'll do it for today's show. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, and also hit those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We'll talk more football again tomorrow, of course. Might be doing another, throwback to in the time machine. Might, tell a little bit of a story from olden days this week. Let's see how things play out as far as media days, because it's going to be a busy time in the middle of the week. Chesney's going to say a lot of things, and the players are going to say a lot of things, like, as we said, Sammy Omasigo, Cole Martin, and Nico Iamaiva will be out there with Coach Chesney. So those guys will be talking as well. So we'll see what they have to say, and we'll be talking, of course, all about media days coming up. But until then, this is Todd Reeves saying so long. Have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow. Take care, Bruin fans.